Hello learners, and welcome to another interesting biology lesson presentation. My name is Marita Kaila. Today we'll look at the skin and temperature control. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to draw a well-labeled diagram of the skin. Apart from that, you are expected to explain the role of different parts of the skin. Mammals are made up of different organs. When you look at an outer covering of any mammal, you find that it is covered by the skin. Now, when you look at the skin is very important. It prevents loss of water. It can also prevent entry of bacteria into the mammal. When you look at my hand, for example, it is covered by the skin. So like I said, the skin is important because it prevents excess loss of water from your body. It also prevents entry of bacteria. Now, when you look at the outside of the skin, you cannot see whatever is found inside. This is the more reason why you have to look at the internal structure of the skin. So what you do is we look at the internal structure of the skin. Then after looking at the internal structure of the skin, that's when we look at temperature control in relation to the skin. The mammalian skin is an important organ in the human being. So what you do is we look at the internal structure of the skin. To help us explain the internal structure of the skin, we are going to use a chart. So look at the chart. So this chart says it's the structure of the mammalian skin. Now when you look at this diagram, the mammalian skin has different parts. But in general, the mammalian skin is divided into two major parts. We have the upper part. So this upper part starts from here up to here. The upper part starts from here up to here. So from here to here, this is the upper part, which we call the epidermis. So it's indicated here. This is the epidermis. This is the epidermis. Then down, we have the part. From this part where the epidermis ends up to the last part, we call this part the dermis. So this is it, the dermis. So we are saying that the skin is divided into two major parts. We have the epidermis and the dermis. Now, we have to talk about the parts which make up the epidermis and the parts which make up the dermis. So let's start with the epidermis. The epidermis has three layers. The epidermis has three layers. So the first layer, this is the first layer. Then the second layer, this is the second layer. Then the third layer, this is the third layer. The first layer is known as the conified layer. So this is the conified layer. The middle one, this one, it is known as the granular layer. Then the inner one, this one, we are calling it the memphigine layer. So the epidermis has three parts: the conified layer, the granular layer, and the memphigine layer. Now let's come to the dermis. In the dermis, you find several tissues and structures. So when you look at the dermis, that is from here up to there, we have the sweat gland. This is the sweat gland, which is here. Then apart from the sweat gland, we have the blood capillary. So this is the blood capillary. Then apart from the blood capillary, we have fatty deposits under the skin. These are the fat deposits. Then apart from the fat deposits, we have this structure which is known as the erector muscle. So this is the erector muscle. Then apart from the erector muscle, we have this gland which we call the sebaceous gland. Then apart from the sebaceous gland, we have the nerve ending. This is a nerve ending. This one also is a nerve ending. So what we are trying to say is that the skin has the epidermis and the dermis. In the epidermis, we have the conified layer, the granular layer, and the mammifygian layer. Then when we come to the dermis, we have different structures. We have the sweat gland, the blood capillary, the fatty deposits, the nerve endings, the erector muscle. We also have the sebaceous gland. So what we are going to do now, we are going to look at these parts in details. What we'll do is, we'll start with the epidermis. So this epidermis is important. Like I said, it has 3 layers. Now, when you look at the epidermis, the 3 layers we said they are the conified layer, the granular layer, and the mammifygian layer. In the mammifygian layer, you find cells that are actively dividing. We know that in biological terms, when cells are actively dividing, it means that new cells are being made. When these new cells are made, they are now supposed to move from the mammifygian layer to the granular layer. Then from the granular layer to the last layer, which we know that is known as the conified layer. Now in the conified layer, these cells that are made from the mammifygian layer will no longer be living, they will be dead. So when you look at your skin, the outer part is made up of the conified layer. So this layer is important because it prevents loss of water from your body. It prevents dehydration. So don't forget, we are saying that the epidermis is important because it is made up of the mammifygian layer where you have cells that are actively dividing. So when these cells actively divide, they will move to the granular layer, they will still be living, but when they reach the conified layer, they will be dead. So in all, the epidermis prevents loss of water. Now, apart from the epidermis, like I said, we have the dermis. In the dermis, we have the structure we are calling the sweaty gland. This sweaty gland in the dermis, so the sweat gland in the dermis produces sweat. So the sweat gland produces sweat. So the sweat gland produces sweat. So we are saying that the sweat gland will produce the sweat. So this sweat now will move out of your body through what is known as the sweaty pore. So the sweat will move out of your body through the sweaty pore. Apart from that, we have the blood capillaries. So the blood capillaries are important because you know that the skin is living. It's the organ of the body. Therefore, it requires food, it requires oxygen. So the blood capillaries bring the nutrients to the skin. So they bring the nutrients to the skin, that is food and oxygen. Then apart from that, the same blood capillaries also are used in temperature control. So blood capillaries are used in temperature control. So we are saying that they bring the nutrients to the skin. Then apart from that, they are used in temperature control. Temperature control. So these are the 2 most important functions of the capillaries. Now, when you look at the fatty deposits, these fatty deposits here, so these fatty deposits are important because they insulate the body against heat loss. So they insulate the body against heat loss. So insulate the body against heat loss. Body against heat loss. Against heat loss. Against the heat loss. So the fats insulate the body against heat loss. So don't forget, fats insulate the body against heat loss. Then we have the nerve endings, these nerve endings. The nerve endings are important because they are sensitive. They are sensitive to touch, they are sensitive to pain, they are sensitive to pressure, they are sensitive to temperature. So we are saying these are important because they are sensitive to touch. So when someone touches you, you find that these, they will respond. Then temperature, when you put a cold substance on the skin, again you find that these are going to detect. So they are sensitive to temperature. They are also sensitive to pain. So when someone pinches you again, you find that you feel the pain because of these nerve endings. So the nerve endings are important because they will detect the change in the environment. Then we have this erector muscle here. So the erector muscle again is important because it can contract depending on whether the temperature is very cold or is hot. So the erector muscle can contract and relax depending on the temperature of the environment. So the erector muscle contract and relax. Contract and relax. Then the last part is the sebaceous gland. So this sebaceous gland, you find that it produces an oily liquid which we call sebum. So the sebaceous gland produces an oily liquid we call sebum. So this one produces sebum, an oily liquid. So this sebum, which is an oily liquid, it will make the skin sample. It will make the skin sample and the skin will be soft. So this is important so that the skin cannot be cracking easily. So we found that these parts that we've labeled in this diagram, they are very important. We have talked about the epidermis, then we have talked about parts that are present in the dermis. Now maybe the other part which is also important on the skin, we have this part which we call the hairs. You find that when you look at your skin has several hairs, but we have just shown one for easy explanation. So don't forget, we are talking about the structure of the mammalian skin and the role it plays in temperature control. So what we are going to do now, we'll talk about temperature control. So what you do is we'll consider two situations. We have the first situation where the weather is cold. Then we'll have another situation where the weather is hot. So let's start with the cold weather. What happens when the weather is cold? Now, when the weather is cold, your body requires heat so much that the temperature can be maintained constant. We know that normally maintenance of a temperature is important. The round figure which we give for normal body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. So it shouldn't be fluctuating, shouldn't be very low, it shouldn't be very high. So when the weather is hot, we should have the temperature, we should be around 37 degrees Celsius. To do this, your body shouldn't lose heat easily. It has to retain the heat so that the temperature can be maintained at 37 degrees Celsius. So what happens is this. So when it is cold, remember we said that the skin under the dermis, we have blood capillaries. These, they bring oxygen and food to the skin. Then apart from bringing oxygen and food to the skin, they are also involved in temperature control. Now these capillaries, the capillaries that are found under the skin, this is your skin. Then on top of the skin we have the hair. Then we have blood capillaries under your skin. So the blood capillaries under your skin will become narrow. So the blood capillaries under your skin will become narrow. So when it is cold, for example, June, your blood capillaries under the skin should become narrow. The idea is that when they become narrow, less blood can flow through them. So when the less blood flows through them, you find that less heat will be lost from the body. So in other words, we are saying the capillaries become narrow. When they become narrow, it means that less blood flows through them, then less heat is lost from your body. So this situation where the blood capillaries become narrow, we call this vasoconstriction. 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 Then apart from vasoconstriction, we have the erector muscle. Remember we talked about the erector muscle contracting and relaxing. But when it is cold like this, the erector muscles are supposed to contract. So the erector muscle contracts. Erector muscle contracts. So when the erector muscle contracts, you find that the hairs that are found on the skin, they will stand upright. So the hair will stand upright like this one, then you have hair standing upright like that. Now the idea here is that when the hair stand upright like that, they will trap air between the hairs. So air will be trapped between the hairs. So when this is done, when heat is trying to escape from the skin, you find that it will not be easy because there is an insulation of air trapped between the hairs. In this case, loss of heat from your body is going to be reduced. So don't forget, we are saying that when it is cold, the capillaries become narrow. There is vasoconstriction, so that less blood flows through the capillaries and less heat is lost from your body. So this reduces heat loss. Then apart from that, the erector muscles contract. When they contract, the hairs will stand upright. This traps the air. So when air is trapped between the hairs, you find that heat from the body cannot easily escape. Now when it is hot, you find that now it's the opposite. The blood capillaries here, you find that they will become wide. So blood capillaries will become wide. When they become wide, we call this vasodilation. Vasodilation. So when vasodilation takes place, you find that more blood now can flow through the blood capillaries. When more blood flows through the blood capillaries, you find that more heat can be lost from your body. So in this case, instead of the temperature being abnormally high, you find it reducing so that it is maintained at the 7 degrees Celsius, which is the average normal body temperature, for example, of a human being. So don't forget, vasodilation causes more blood to flow through the capillaries so that heat can be lost from your body when it is hot. Now for the erector muscles, instead of them contracting, when it is hot, they are supposed to relax. So erector muscles relax. When erector muscles relax, you find that the hairs which were standing upright when it was cold, you find that they will lie almost flat to the skin. So they are lying almost flat to the skin. So when this happens, air now will no longer be trapped between the hairs. So in this case, more heat from the body, more heat from the skin can easily be lost. So you find that there is vasodilation taking place, more blood flowing through the capillaries so that it is lost through the skin. It can be lost through the skin. So when it is lost through the skin, there is no barrier here to prevent that. So you find that more heat will be lost from your body. In this way, you find that the body temperature, instead of it rising abnormally, you find that it will be reduced, then it will be maintained at 7 degrees Celsius. So what we've done today is that we have looked at different parts of the skin. Then we have said that the skin has the epidermis and the dermis. then we know that the skin also is involved in temperature control. Then we have said that when it is cold, you expect vasoconstriction to take place. When vasoconstriction takes place, you find that less blood flows through the capillaries. When less blood flows through the capillaries, less heat is lost from the body. The erector muscles contract, resulting into the hairs on the skin standing upright. So they trap the air so that loss of heat from your body can be difficult. Then when it is hot, the blood capillaries, we find that they become wide. Then we say vasodilation has taken place. More blood flows through the blood capillaries. When more blood flows through the capillaries, you find that more heat is lost from your body. Then the erector muscles, they relax. When this happens, the hairs on the skin will lie flat on the skin. Air will not be trapped. So in this case, it will be easier for heat to be lost from the skin. So don't forget, all this is done so much that instead of the temperature, body temperature of a mammal being abnormally high or abnormally low, it should be maintained constant. Then we know from our previous lessons, we know that the maintenance of a constant internal environment can be temperature or anything. We call it homeostasis. So don't forget, the mammalian skin is important in regulation of body temperature. Before we end our today's lesson, we are going to look at some questions. What happens to the following structures during cold weather and hot weather? So A, blood capillary. B, erector muscles. C, position of the hair. So I'll give you 2 minutes in which to go through the questions. So the expected answers are, for blood capillary, when it is cold, you expect the blood capillaries to become narrow. So when that happens, we call that vasoconstriction. So vasoconstriction prevents loss of heat from the body. But when it is hot, the opposite happens. You find that the blood capillaries will become white, then we are calling it vasodilation or dilation. So when that happens, you find that more blood flows through the capillaries and more heat is lost from the body. Now we come to the erector muscles. When it is cold, the erector muscles contract and the hair stand upright. So when this happens, air is trapped between the hairs and less heat is lost from the body. But when it is hot, the erector muscles relax. So when they relax, you find that the hairs will lie flat on the skin and air now will no longer be trapped between the hairs and more heat is lost from the body. So position of the hair. So like we said, when it is cold, the hairs will stand upright on the skin because the erector muscles contract. But when it is hot, the hairs will lie flat on the skin because the erector muscle will have relaxed. I hope you have enjoyed our today's biology lesson presentation. This has been Marita Kaila. Bye.